Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday night show, a special extended Thursday night show. It's a special one tonight because we have, and I'm sure you've all heard, unless you've been hiding under a rock, today's news has broke and United are making significant moves in the managerial department. The boys are with me to discuss everything. Ralph Rangnick, it is all over the news and is happening. Beth will join us as well shortly. Hopefully she doesn't make a bomb entrance again. But she does know this time, guys, that we are already live and she's coming in while we're actually mid-show. So let's introduce everybody first and get the mood. Levin, mate, a big smile on your face there. You've already been on today, mate. Tell me how you're feeling right now, Paul.
You know what, yeah, my plan was to come and say something in German and be all excited and stuff, right? But I'm not gonna do that. I am very excited and there's a lot to talk about, like you alluded to, but I'm happy that we are moving forward. That's what I talked about on the morning show. The problem is that it felt like we were standing still, and finally with this, we're moving forward, and that's the most important thing to me.
That's it. Jay, we talked briefly off camera there, off live, whatever. I'm losing my words here. I just want to get into the football talk, mate. But before we started the show, I'll just say it that way, Jay. We're talking there, excitement that football is coming back to Old Trafford again. We'll get into that in depth, mate. But just tell me your your excitement levels right now about the news that's broke today.
Well, it's the first time that us four as the collective unit have been backstage, and we're all happy. We're all positive. We're all smiling. I'm on the show now a year. I've never been backstage doing a show where everyone's happy. And it's the first day ever. So that's a major thing. And as you said there, to be able to come on between now and May and actually speak about football and delve deeper into football tactics, that now we actually have a astute tactician manager, it's going to be a joy. I can't wait.
Yes. And Kev, mate, we were only discussing possible United managerial targets the other day. We walked away thinking Poch was the one, but today's news, has it excited you, mate? Are you on board with the interim setup that's going to be going ahead for us?
I am excited, mate, and I think it is the correct appointment. I think the thing that excites me more than anything probably goes to show, I would say, and even though I was on board with Pochettino, I did state he wouldn't be my first choice. I think this one sort of maybe gives away the game a bit slightly, that Manchester United are looking at something different. Maybe a Ten Hag or going down a route like that, which for me makes it even more exciting. But strap yourselves in for the next 6 months or so, because this is going to get very, very interesting at Manchester United.
That is it, mate. You touched on some points there straight away. Guys, don't forget, drop your comments in. We are going over an hour tonight. Just going to do an extended special show to get everyone's full thoughts on this. I'm going to break a lot down. We're also going to get into our we all thought or think Ralph is going to attack in terms of starting lineups as well. That will be interesting. I'm sure we've all done one. But if you haven't, just think of yours and we'll bring them together. See if you guys agree. And let's have a bit of fun with it as well while we can. But let's say Wreck-It Ralph is here. He's in. He's going to destroy what has been the template over the last 2 years at this football club in, I would say, about a week, because the shock factor that's going to hit that training ground when a proper coach walks through the door, there's going to be some hiding, I tell you. There's going to be dug out and found out. Before we start into all that, the current situation obviously is, we know now that Ralph Rangnick has agreed the 6-month contract. We know what's involved with that. Afterwards, a 2-year advisory role within the club. It is just between United and Moscow now, just discussing his departure from them. So it is happening. I mean, Levin, it is big news. It is, we expected something, but it did sort of go off the boil a little bit with Ralph Rangnick not too long ago. A few other names came into the fray, but I do feel like, personally, I don't know about you, mate, I do feel like we are getting the right man in to change things up. And I think this was the one guy that was going to completely change things up.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so exciting, Adam, because a couple of weeks ago I talked about that option, right? The option of having Rangnick come in as an interim, and why I thought it would be great if you kept him on later as someone high up in the club. And even as late as today, I was saying I just didn't think it was going to happen. Like on the morning show, I literally was going off on people going, no, I just don't think it'll happen, because straight up, like, I don't see a world. Everything about what this Manchester United setup has been with Ed Woodward has told me they're not going to let someone come in and have any sort of real, significant influence that isn't one of their people, right? And that's why I think people are so excited. I saw someone on Twitter going, is it normal for people to be this excited about interim manager? And no, but I think that's not the exciting bit. Well, that's not the most exciting bit. It's just it's the fact that we have someone who we know is a brilliant footballing mind, one of the best footballing minds out there ever. He's going to be someone that now has an influence in decision making at our club, potentially with that, a role that will be given after this 6-month period. So that is the bit that's really exciting, and that's the bit that signifies some sort of change, right? You'd think that after 8-9 years now of the Woodward plan not working, he's finally thought, actually, maybe I need someone else's plan in it. Like maybe my plan isn't the best way to go about things, and that's where the hope is right now for a lot of us as fans.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, Levin talks about hope there and a complete change of tact, and that's what's exciting. I completely agree. With that. It's the fact that he's bringing in a number 2 as well, so we're going to at least get rid of one. Surely one of that coaching staff, mate, has to go, Jay. I mean, are you excited just for the fact that we are seeing a different setup and different tactics and a different way of looking at the game of football coming into this football club right now? Because like I said before, 3 years of Solskjaer, I should say, really, and the mess that was before him. This guy has pedigree, and that is what's come out of all reports so far. Listen to the managers, especially the German managers, Nagelsmann, Klopp, Tuchel, all these players that look up, all these managers that look up to Rangnick. Are you excited just for that type of manager coming in? Someone, dare I say it, with a plan, mate?
Well, first of all, I'm going to use words that I never thought that I would use on this show. Ed Woodward made the correct strategic decision and showed some vision. I never thought I would be using these words. Just even this morning, I tweeted that no, we'll never get Rangnick because the board and Ed don't want to cede any power or authority. Therefore, we won't get him. So what is most telling is that he was offered a job earlier in the week, whatever terms and conditions he was offered, he turned down. So I had to come back to him with a revised offer. So I can only hope that the revised offer he has is that he stays in situ, obviously as a consultant for another 2 or 3 years, hopefully as director of football. We'd all love that. But I would imagine the revised offer is going to be that I bring in my number 2, and over the fullness of time, I bring in my coaches. Because to expect Rangnick or anybody to come into the club and completely revolutionize not only the playing style, but also the coaches, the fitness staff, you're asking there for a panacea, and it doesn't exist overnight. So over the last couple of seasons, we have been very disunited and very fractious as a fan base. And I think over the next 6 to 8 months, I think Rangnick is the glue that's going to get all these factions back together, because his CV is beyond reproach. And finally, a manager that comes into the dressing room, he's not going to care if you're Cristiano Ronaldo or Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba. He's not going to care. He's going there with his vision, and his aim is to stage literally evolution of that club. I just hope that the Glazers and Woodward, whatever promises they've given him, that they stick to them. And that is the key there, because we have a chance here. And I know a lot of people on Twitter have used the phrase, the reset button. This is like, how to put it, the United way. Okay, we had 2 mammoth managers in Matt Busby and obviously Sir Alex Ferguson. So 2 big pillar managers we've had in our time. And since then, we've all been searching and harping back to the United way. But over the next couple of years, guys, forget the United way. I want to see the Rangnick way, and I'm all for it.
That's it. I mean, Kev, Jay touched on it there. It's like there's the management role, but a lot of people are getting excited about the second part of the deal as well, mate. and that is that advisory role afterwards. I mean, we'd all like it to turn into some form of director of football role. I mean, it would be too much to ask, wouldn't it, Kev, that this football club makes 2 sensible footballing decisions in the space of 6 months. But you know what, mate? If he makes a good impression and he talks a lot of sense, he sits up there and speaks to Fergie a lot. I mean, we know the pulling power that Fergie's got. Can you imagine Sir Alex Ferguson sat with Rangnick upstairs, mate? I mean, just tell me how excited you are at first, Jay. Sorry, Kev, about everything. But most of all, that second bit of the deal that's coming in and what you think might actually come from it in the end.
I think that makes it even more exciting, because if it is a consultancy role or whatever we're kind of reading about, would suggest that obviously after the 6 months of being at Manchester United, and he's going to learn a lot, he'll get to know the players, the staff and everything. For him then to step aside, you would probably suggest that he's probably will have some kind of a say in the next long-term manager at Manchester United, which excites me as well, because he's a football man. There's no doubt over the last 3 years, we've probably from when Sir Alex Ferguson left Manchester United, we've not had an identity of football, a philosophy. Yes, Louis van Gaal and Mourinho banged the drum about philosophy, but we've never seen it. And if it was, then it was shit sideways passing. Now we've got, the discipline. I can't remember that word. We've basically got a man. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you very much. I'm not even going to try and say it again, but yeah, that word. We've got that person that comes in, and he's not going to take any crap. No crap at all. Like Jay says, it doesn't matter whether you Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo. It does not matter. This man goes. It's a pressing style of football. It's exciting. It's forward thinking. It's not left, right, and back. You play on the front foot. We've been starved of that as fans at Manchester United over the years. So it's exciting in that, but also the fact that he's going to come in and rip it up. He's not going to take any prisoners. I'd say there'll be a lot of players there looking and thinking, but like you said before, we come on, Adam, that's exactly what these players need. And for him to come in and do it, they get paid very, very well. And some of them need a rocket up their arse. So bring it on.
That's it. Right. Okay, guys, this is it. This is the moment. I'm going to introduce Beth, just so she knows we're actually live and we don't get no carnage on camera. So here we go, everybody. This is Beth. She's now joining the show. Hello, Beth.
Hello, guys.
We are going to go straight into you, Beth, and get your thoughts on what's happened today. First of all, tell us, are you excited about this deal? You wasn't quite keen when we spoke about managers in terms of the interim, but seeing as though this is now happening, is it the right interim sort of manager for us? Because this does open up the avenue for the man that you want in Ten Hag in the summer. It's probably the only way we could get someone like that, I think. So does this sort of now tickle your fancy? Is it looking good for United? Are you excited by it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to lie. That's probably the best option that, in my opinion, that could have come out of it. I know when we spoke, I was in agreement that if Poch did come in, at least it's a permanent manager and you do get that strategy and you do get it to come in straight away. But obviously after speaking about Ralph and everything that kind of we've all agreed that he's good at and what he could bring to the club, we all kind of agreed that, I mean, it would be a great appointment, but we don't think Manchester United would have the capabilities to make that. It just doesn't seem like something Manchester United would do, because it actually does make sense and it actually would be a great football decision for the club. So the fact that it's coming out that might be happening, or it is happening, is something that I'm really excited about. And the fact that he's going to stay after he's interim as well is something that's really important to me, because obviously he's got a great football brain. He's made great football decisions for the club. And I do really think if this goes over the line, it could definitely be the start of a new chapter for us. And I think when he comes in, a lot of these players are going to have a massive shock, just due to the fact he will not take any rubbish. Like, he's going to put everyone in their place. And I think you're going to see the football change quite quickly. Obviously, he can't work wonders overnight, but I definitely think he's going to teach these players the basics, and he's going to teach them very well. And you'll soon start seeing Manchester United have a style of football. Plus, like you said, he's not going to stay forever. We know that. So it's not as if he's going to get given the job. And that does leave the door open for the summer. Yes, it still might be Pochettino if PSG gets sacked, but we get to see more time and get to see what Pochettino actually can do with PSG and get to see what he's like and how he develops at PSG. And also it gives time for Rangnick to get kind of an insight into the club, an insight on who he thinks could be a potential manager for Manchester United, because I'm sure if he does get that role, he might get a say. So, I mean, it does leave the door open for Ten Hag as well, that I know a few of us are a really big fan of. So I think it's a really good appointment. Get the players into shape and then look for someone secure in the summer. And I do think if this goes over the line, it could really, really work well for us.
Yeah, definitely. It is everything you just said there, Beth. It pretty much gets every United fan excited. We're all looking towards the future as well as positivity now. Levin, you've talked about this before. The boxing world has got Triple G. Ralph's bringing the triple C's, mate. The 3 C's are in. Talk to me about that first one, mate. Concepts is what he says. He focuses on importance of implementing a specific DNA to the football club and how they play going forward above anything else. Now that is music to a lot of United fans' ears, mate. But that really is, like we said before, Levin, it's like the start of a plan. He knows exactly what he's going to bring wherever he goes. And this coming to United is something that we've not seen for a while, a long time, in fact. And it's coming next week, mate.
Yeah, that's really exciting because it's something that we've lacked. That was probably one of the biggest criticisms of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And it's something that, according to Andy Mitten and other reports, that, you know, some of the managers that they spoke to in this sort of interview process emphasized in terms of what they would do instantly coming in, especially more specifically in terms of being better defensively. And I think we all know that, you know, Rangnick, he definitely has, you know, he is very much insistent on getting that idea through to the players. And that's why I think we're likely to see a quicker turnaround than maybe we would have seen with other managers, where, you know, he's going to get that in the players straight away. Like, that will be one of the first sort of messages to the players in terms of understanding what it is I want to do with you guys. And, you know, it's one of these things that we've just lacked, right? Like, and even we talked about a bit off camera where it's like that communication, even with us, the fans, right? Knowing actually what our manager wants to do, where, you know, again, I'm not trying to bash Ollie because he's gone now and we've moved on from that, but it's like, you get reporters asking Ollie, like, yo, so what is your like long-term vision for how you want to play? And you sort of get these buzzwords and these murky answers that, you know, nobody really sort of can gauge anything from. And that's something that, you know, you don't get. And also being able to implement that concept throughout the whole club as a whole, right? And making sure everybody's on board. You know, you can't afford for people to be disconnected and people to not have that understanding. And if you're not on board, you know, there's plenty of time for you to leave. There's plenty of opportunities for you to leave in January or summer or whatever that is. So
perfect
yeah,
timing, you could say, mate.
Yeah,
perfect
no, definitely.
timing for someone like him to come in. He gets a month to work with the players. But Jay, on the second C, competence, mate. We try and find the best possible people for each job, guaranteeing competence across the club. Now that, I mean, take it away, Jay. That's music to
Alex,
your ears, mate.
Sorry, Adam, you must be reading my mind, right? Because I actually have a screenshot here from a quote that I pulled off today from a very good article actually on The Athletic. Rangnick was at the Coach's Voice conference in London in September. And it's exactly what you said there. You read my mind. Quote, to develop, educate, and coach, you need to be sure of what kind of football you need to play. This is what the top coaches in Europe have in common. They know what their football looks like. They have a video of the perfect game in their heads. The job is to transform the idea of football into the heads and hearts, brains, and veins of the players. That's motivation, the transfer of belief. I love that line, lads. The transfer of belief. That he wants to instill his football philosophy into their brains, their veins of the players. So exactly how long, guys, have I been asking for a manager to come into that dressing room that has gravitas, that the players will sit up and listen? And for the last 3 years, we know, I'm not going to speak ill of Ole either. I'm not, because that would be too easy. But it was an old boys club. It was Empathy FC, Sentiment FC, arm around the shoulder. And where did it get us, guys? Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So many of those players, if you were a squad player now for United, you're thinking, hang on a second, this is a reset for me. New manager for me, new start. And if you're one of the players, and again, I'm not going to call any players out live on air. I'll do that. I'll do that after matches. I do enough of that. If you're one of the players that's been 6 out of 10, going through the motions, just doing enough, knowing that each week I'm not going to be dropped because I'm a favourite. You right now tonight, you're shitting yourself because you know come Monday or Tuesday, whenever Ralph comes to Carrington, there's a whole reset there. I now have to impress this man, or I'm not playing. If I'm not playing come the summer, I could be sold. And I love that. And finally, it's a change of mindset and mentality. I use the phrase, guys, a lot when I'm training people, that I want you to be a mentality monster. Now we've hired our own mentality monster. And lads, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for this journey.
That's it. I mean, on the last C, Kev, capital, cash as such. That takes us straight into January in a way, mate. I personally, in my opinion, I don't see a penny being spent in January, mate. I mean, I think a month in with these players, I do believe that Rangnick can make something of what we've got right now. I honestly do. I don't see the club spending any money in January. I mean, do you feel like we need to, or have we got enough in this squad here? We all said at the start of the season, Kev, that we expected a challenge. We've now probably got a man in who could mount something within these next 5 months of the season. Surely we don't need to be bringing or spending any extra money, do we, mate?
I don't think it would be sustainable to give a manager that's only got 6 months money to spend in January, unless you knew 100% who was coming in to take over and you were in some kind of dialect with them where you'd say, is this a player that you'd want to inherit? But I wouldn't have thought United were that far down the line. Now, one thing I have always said with this current squad of players is that a better manager will get more out. He will get more out of this current squad of players. And I don't know exactly how much, but compared to what the old regime was, you are going to get more out of them. And people will laugh, but I think the likes of Fred and that a lot of fans have written off. I've had my say on him. I've not been too complimentary. I think under a manager like this, if he plays in a system and he knows exactly what to do, then it could be his time to shine. McTominay, I don't know. You know, it's just about getting the blend right in the midfield. That is the main area I'd say that Manchester United need to invest in. But I can't see it happening. And I think that Manchester United will put total trust in this manager and he'll get more out of them. There's no doubt about it in my mind, to be honest. It really is going to be a wake-up call. And I think the main thing about this decision is, the thing that's so shocking about it is, and we're probably all in agreement, is about how much of a great decision this is for Manchester United. How often do we say this about the board at Old Trafford? It's unheard of. Some people might say, bringing Ronaldo back, that was an easy decision to make. It was done. He sold shirts. He's earned Manchester United money. Yes, he's on big money. But as a footballing decision, this is absolutely huge because it's probably the one decision that all of us as fans have spoken about. Like Levin said, it's the one that he wanted to happen, same as Jay. And now it's actually happened. It's like, that's how much we've lost faith in Manchester United and the board and the people that operate at Manchester United because we didn't think they had it in them to do this. And today they've just pulled a rabbit out the hat. It's unbelievable.
I will say that again. I mean, Beth, there are a few players who will be sat there thinking, like Jay said, and then there'll be a few players going, you know what, this is my opportunity here now. But not only that, Beth, I mean, do you expect to see any more chances for some of the younger players? There's a lot of, Ahmed alone. You know what I mean? Players like this now, all of a sudden, like Jay nailed it when he said it is a complete reset for every single player in this squad because it's not all about the big names now. We've seen there a list that someone did a super chat of players that he's bought himself. He's not one for the marquee man. He's more of a system type player. Straight away, the Sanchos, the Donnies of this world coming from the Bundesliga and from the Dutch Eredivisie just spring to my mind straight away. But you know what? We've got a lot of young players in there that could be looking at this and going, this is my chance before the main manager comes in the summer to just hopefully get a chance in this team. I mean, young boys, already through, already top of the group, Beth. Great opportunity.
that is a great opportunity that a lot of players will be looking at, especially under this new manager. But I've just seen a comment saying Maguire needs to get on job seekers. Sorry. Just crack me up that. But yeah, obviously the players are going to have a massive point to prove, And I think with this manager, like you said, it's a massive reset. But when we were talking in the chat earlier, maybe finally it's the goodbye of McFred. Obviously, we don't know, because as you were saying about the January transfer window, there was anything I think that manager would want, I think it'd be a defensive midfield player looking at that. But like you said, I still think he's going to make it work. I think he's going to go in there with a fresh pair of eyes. He's not going to judge anyone off names. Obviously, he'll know how a lot of the players play. You do that coming in as a new manager. But from his first training session, that'll be a reset for all the players. And I do think players like Ahmad definitely will get more of a chance under this manager. He seems like the type of player that could get a chance under Rangnick from what I've seen. I think other younger players like possibly Hannibal, possibly Shoretire will be looking to possibly maybe just not get a game, but establish themselves under this manager and kind of get their name out there and kind of make themselves known. And obviously the senior players, McTominay, Fred, I think Fred might actually be in favour due to his high press and the way he can get about the pitch. Obviously, we know Rangnick likes that. But players like Matic, McTominay, that kind of were favourites under Ollie, are going to have to work really hard to kind of prove that to the new manager. And I think you're going to see players that we thought were poor actually playing in a different system and see them improve. And it's going to be really strange to see. But I also think you're going to see players that you thought were kind of here to stay under this Ollie system possibly get pushed aside, because this manager's going to come in and he knows what he wants. It is about system. It is about the way you play. And if you don't work extremely hard, if you don't do exactly what he says, you're not going to make the team. And I do think you're going to see a lot of changes and players aren't going to be so comfortable. They've had a comfortable ride for quite a long time now. I mean, Ollie, whether you say good or bad about him, I think he was a nice guy. And I do think some of the players did get away with a little bit under him. There's going to be absolutely none of that under this new manager. So it's going to be interesting to see who's up for the challenge and who's not. But I definitely expect to see some names that we don't see regularly get a bit more time and kind of work themselves into the team. Donny van der Beek and Sancho, I think, are going to be key, you know. I really think they're going to get a massive chance in this system just through the way they play. I also think Bruno's going to flourish with him coming in as well. I think you're going to see him change his game. So it's exciting times for United. I think we're all really excited just to see what this manager can do.
That's it. I mean, we're hearing that Levin is going to be bringing Lars Konetka, who has worked with him before, as a number 2. So backroom staff, or at least a second in command, is going to be big. Definitely, because I do feel like under the old regime, under McKenna, Phelan, Ole, Carrick, I think the players could have gone to any one of them, really, for authority. But right now, you've got one man in charge, the second in command. They know their roles, and the players are going to have to answer to number 1 here. It does look like we have got a main man in charge. It doesn't look like it's a bit of a mixed match sort of bag of things. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like a few more of his coaching setup to come in, I'll be honest. But one is good for starters, Levin.
No, 100%. And he's somebody that will very much, in this short period of time now that he comes in, will evaluate things and look to see what he can change, right? You know, that second C, right? Competency, making sure he has the right people in place to execute what it is he wants to execute. Look, I'm not so bought on the idea that we're going to see complete turnover and change in all the staff. And I know a lot of people want that. I think the most important thing is that maybe it's just because I really like Rangnick, but if he decides he trusts certain people to do certain things, then I will have hope in that, right? Where you look at, for example, a Carrick or McKenna, right? Under Ollie, they very much had, you know, a lot of power. They had a lot of control. They almost, you know, it was left all up to them, right? Whereas, you know, you can envision a Rangnick coming in and going, okay, no, you're not going to have all this control, but I want you to do this. And if you can do this well, then that's cool, right? The most important thing, though, is leading back to that second C, the competency aspect of it, making sure you have those people in place. And hopefully he can come in and do that. And hopefully he's given sort of the, you know, budget, I guess you'd say, to be able to bring in those right people. I know that's always something we talk about, that the club maybe being skeptical to do, right? Actually spending the money on the right staff and whatnot. It's good to see that he already has one guaranteed, right? Because his assistant manager, he brought him to Moscow with him as well to help him in his role there. So clearly a great relationship. And the link with the Red Bull Foundation, not Red Bull Foundation, so like the Red Bull company, right? He will know a lot of people there. That could be a step up for a lot of them where they can maybe get involved in our club somehow because they do great work there. So lots of potential, lots to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, do we expect him to come in and shake up roles? I don't know really. I mean, is he going to come in and say we need a different captain? Is he going to come in and shake it up that much with just 6 months in charge? Do you feel like he would go that far? We know what he's like, but does that interim sort of hamper him in any way, shape, or form in how he wants to get his message across or his plan across?
I don't think it will. The very fact that the players and the staff are aware that this man, okay, he's the interim until May, but then, however, he moves upstairs. Now, the term they're using, consultant, that can mean anything. Like sure, isn't Ed Woodward staying on forever as a consultant? But we know he's always going to be pulling the shots and cast a shadow over the club. So I think if the players are smart enough, I'm sure some of them probably aren't, but let's be fair, they're not rocket scientists, a lot of them. I think the players, for the most part, was okay. This guy, he's going to appoint the next manager. I have to do my damnedest to buckle down, adapt to his philosophy, adapt his training methods, give my all, because when the manager comes in, I will be seen as surplus to requirements. Do I see there's going to be a massive sea change in the playing style overnight? No, of course not. Because you have a manager that's coming in, take maths as an example. You have a manager coming in with an assistant, and they've got PhDs in maths. And now they're dealing with a couple of kids that have O-level maths, and they're trying to teach them A-level maths. And it's a big gulf.
It's been a long time since O-levels, bro. It's been a long.
Yeah. I'm just using the example. There's a big disparity between an A-level and O-level and a PhD. And I think right now our coaching staff are probably at a base standard O-level. They're not even A-level. So you've got a guy coming in that's got a PhD trying to up their level. And I feel he probably will give them a chance to up their level and adapt his philosophies. Mm-hmm. But I feel, and it goes back to our original point, that he was offered a deal earlier in the week, which he rejected. So he will give them a chance. But if they fail to meet his standards over a short period of time and meet his benchmark, I feel, yes, he'll make change. Because I don't believe for a second he's come into that club with handcuffs that he can't actually make change. Woodward knows that a man of Rangnick's background, I can't remember which club it was. Possibly it was one of the Red Bull clubs, and the striker was sold for 20 million, and Rangnick got so annoyed that he literally handed his resignation. Okay, it's in the Athletic article. The article was so long I can't remember that club. So Rangnick will not accept for anything other than his philosophy and his goals implemented. And any player or coach that isn't on board, they'll be gone. But he will give them a chance, I feel.
Yeah, on that, Kev, mate, and everyone else jump in here as well. Is there any particular player that you're looking forward to seeing more from under this coaching regime? I know we've got good players right now, but are you expecting players to go to another level? Is there anyone that you think, Kev, and anyone else in there? I mean, Bruno springs to mind with that energy and that wasted press that he was always doing pointlessly for United. I think fits the mould under a great coach perfectly, especially someone like Rangnick. But is there anyone jumping out for you, Kev, that you think is really going to excel? On the other side of it, is there anyone you're actually worried about as well?
Excited to see if it is the pressing football, the high-intensity pressing football that he wants to bring to Manchester United. I would certainly be thinking, after watching the match the other night, Sancho springs to mind straight away, a player that we could probably get a bit more out of. And the main one, the main mystery at Manchester United, Donny van der Beek. I think he could be probably pivotal to a system that if you look at his philosophy and the words that he speaks, and it's not about going left, right, and back, and it's forward thinking. You look at the performance that when he come on against Watford, Donny van der Beek, and we've not had that in the middle of the park for ages. I think I said the other week, since probably the days of Michael Carrick, a player that can actually pass forward. So I would think the manager would look at that in training and probably scratch his head and say, why has this lad not been playing for the last year or whatever? You know, what has he done wrong? Because from a footballing point of view, a top manager that comes in is going to see that Donny van der Beek brings a hell of a lot to any team. And we've already said it on this show, any team, there'd be loads of teams in the Premier League that would want him. Any team in Europe would want him because he is that good. He needs to be given the chance, given the confidence, and given a run of games. And that's been one of the main criticisms of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and sticking with favourites. You get the impression there won't be favourites in this team anymore. And at the risk of repeating myself, this is a rocket up the arse. And it more or less is, you know, the manager comes in and it's my way or the highway. It is as simple as that. If you lot are not singing from the same hymn sheet, get your coat, you know, go and play for Hull or something, because things are changing big time.
No one player is bigger than the club, Beth. Does that include our CR7?
Yeah, but I still think he's going to play every game. He's inevitable, and I think he's the least person that's going to be worried. He'll come into training as he's done his whole career and probably train the hardest out of everyone. That's just what he is as a player. He's a top professional, and I think he'll do whatever the manager asks of him. And I think, do you know what, with his system in place and with everyone else kind of, I don't know if Ronaldo will necessarily do the pressing, but with everyone else kind of working in that system, I think it could make him flourish even more. I mean, he's been scoring goals in a really bad Manchester United team. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen when we actually get someone in who's coaching the team properly. I think he's going to kind of explode in that sense. But I do think Cavani will get a lot of time as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how he balances that, because Cavani presses really well. He gets about the pitch really well. He's a great striker. He's got great movement. So it's going to be interesting to see. One player, though, that one position I'm a little bit not worried about, but wary of, and I'm interested to see what happens, is the right back spot. Like Wan-Bissaka, for me, he's not been good going forward whatsoever. A little bit positionally off defensively, and his touch has been a bit off as well, and kind of he's not been the player that we kind of want him to be for me the past few months. And I think he has got potential, but he's nowhere near up to scratch in that full back position, in my opinion. But I don't actually think Dallow's quite good enough to come in and kind of replace him just because of his faults defensively. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Rangnick kind of gets the best out of Wan-Bissaka and he starts actually, he could be a player that improves massively and starts getting involved with the attacking phase, or if he kind of goes with Dallow and coaches him defensively. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in that system, because no player is guaranteed to start, and you could see a different player in a position kind of be chosen, like we saw when Tuchel came in at Chelsea, and it kind of all transformed.
Luke Shaw might be a bit worried.
Well, so with the Luke Shaw thing, I do want to address the Luke Shaw thing because I've seen a lot of people talking about it. To be fair, the Luke Shaw comment was made before the start of last season, when Luke Shaw had like the great year he had. I think he'd probably still feel that way based on how Luke Shaw's been recently, right? But the big thing is that it's always hard, especially when a manager like Rangnick will come in, to understand what players just straight up just won't be able to do the things he wants them to do. But you also do get players who, with clearer understanding, with a better coach, you know, that has a more, you know, bigger focus on development, will actually be able to step up and do some of the things, you know, coaches will ask. So like, you know, for example, like Beth, you're very right in saying the low, you know, people are worried about Wan-Bissaka, but the problem with the low is defensively isn't as great, right? But, you know, with a coach like Rangnick, you could think, actually, well, maybe the low will just improve much better defensively. Or maybe Wan-Bissaka gets a lot more comfortable going forward and improves in that game. So like, that's why it's been hard for me, especially with like predicted lineups, to go, yeah, this guy's nailed on, this guy's no chance, this guy's out of the club, because we almost won't know, you know, who's really about the project and who's really going to get on board. You know, you look back to that Chelsea side, right? You look at some of the players that, you know, Tuchel was very insistent on. Some of the players, look, Lampard, with Lampard, Chelsea were going to get rid of Kante, right? They almost sold him in the summer to Inter. They were going to get rid of Rudiger. And those two are arguably their best players. So, you know, that's why I'd say to people, don't be too quick to go, he's finished, get him out. He's been crap for Oli. He's crap. Don't do that yet. Let's see what Rangnick can do. Let's see who he likes. Let's see who he wants to try. That's why, like, I even said to someone, this is extreme, and I know people are going to hear this and go, get this Levin guy out. I hate this guy. If you see Rangnick playing
get this Levin guy out. He's gone.
if I saw Rangnick playing McFred, as much as I'd be like, are you sure, big man? You know, people aren't going to like that. I would go, you know what? He's a football genius. Like, let's see what he wants to do with it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you know, I don't know who it's going to be. Some players will be right offside. Some players will just not work. But you never can be too certain, especially with a coach as good as Rangnick is.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Jay, Levin touched on it there. Every player is going to get the chance here. And we're all, like I said, I'm excited to see who changes. That's what I want to see. I want to know, like, I want to see, it's like Fred. I put Fred in my team. To be honest, with Rangnick, knowing how he sort of plays. I mean, I think Fred's a simple one for me. Yes, Fred, go and do what you do, but then pass it 5 yards to someone who can do something with it. Job done. Go sit back in your position. Yeah. What Fred did for us in the game against Villarreal is what Fred should do every single game. Get the ball, win it, give it to someone important, and let them do the magic, mate. Do you know what? In a way, Fred suits the higher press, because he's got the engine for it. I mean, do you think Rangnick can turn someone like Fred into the player that we hope we were buying back where he went, mate? I mean, he's been here quite a few years now. I think, 4 years? Is it nearly enough, Fred? We're still not seeing the best of him, if there is anything. But can a new manager change a player like Fred into United fans thinking that, you know what, maybe we have got someone here who can do a job for us?
I think Levin raised an excellent point there when he said that Lampard was poised to get rid of
exactly.
And then Tuchel comes in, and those two are nail-on starters week in, week out. So Fred, and guys, you know, I have been one of the first on every show to slag him off. His passing is terrible. Fred don't shoot, and I have. And you know, look, if Fred is given a remit, as you said, Adam, you know, win the ball, pass it 5 yards, stay in your lane, Fred, and you do that week in, week out, and you're constantly doing that, well then, Fred, for me, you go from a 5 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10 because you're doing your job and you're playing in the system. You're basically in cycling terms, you'd have maybe 2 winners on a team, and the other 6 lads on the team are the water carriers. They're going back to the team car, getting the water, getting the food, fighting back through the bunch and giving the water to the stars. That's their job. Not there to win. They're water carriers. So for me, Fred is a water carrier. And if Fred is prepared to stay in his lane, I said he consistently could be 7 out of 10. And 11, you know, I take your point. If we see McFred or McShite playing the first game against Arsenal, cue the meltdown on Twitter. You know, well.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify, by the way, because some people don't get in chat. I wasn't saying I think he will play that, by the way. I was using him as an example. Like, I wasn't saying, I was saying as an example.
But it could, but you know, and obviously we're going to go into some tactics in a while. But Rangnick, a lot of his systems, he's transitioning from a 4-2-2-2. Often then that's changed to a 4-4-2. So that McTominay and Fred system in a 4-2-2-2 might actually function. We don't know that yet. So every player, be you a McTominay, Saka, even Harry Maguire, has to get a blank slate under the new manager. You have to. So any preconceived notions that, oh, this guy's crap, this guy is good, come Monday morning or Tuesday, whenever he starts, everybody starts off at 0. And it's up to you to earn your spot in the squad. And I think that's what Rangnick is going to impart on them. Whatever happened before is in the past. We're here to build a future.
Can't wait for Jay to turn into a Maguire fan.
On that Beth one, actually, I mean, I'd expect these players to have severe headaches for the first few months of Rangnick with the amount of thinking that they're going to have to start doing. The adaptability and formation that Jay talked about there is going to be vital because we've not seen any of it under Solskjaer, and these players have got used to this. It's going to be a massive shock to the system, but that's probably what excites us more than anything. And I think that's what will ultimately separate the players that Rangnick will go forward with towards the latter end, the business end of the season, to the ones that are maybe the ones that are just going to come in and do a job here and there. It's going to be that adaptability. We know there are players that can do it, the likes of Ronaldo, Cavani, the experienced players. But there's a lot of question marks next to a lot of players that I think Rangnick's going to get the answers for, Beth, on this one.
Yeah, one player really can't decide. So I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's like really coming down. But one player really can't decide is Pogba. Like, what? I don't see how Pogba gets into this team. I honestly don't, because
But you don't know the team yet, Beth. You don't know the team.
Just on that one there, did you see Kev smile and take a glass of wine when we mentioned Pogba then? I think Kev's raring on this one after you, Beth.
Well, yeah, it's like I put my ideal team out, and my midfield was Fred, Donny, and Bruno was a midfield three. That was my midfield about what I would go for and what I think he might go for. But it's I got it in before you actually, and but I don't understand. Even when Pogba comes back from injury, he's not really a high press player. He kind of does need a little bit of time on the ball sometimes. We've seen him kind of lose the ball in our own third quite a lot of the time. I mean, I think he's an incredible footballer, and maybe you will see a difference in him. Maybe he will adapt to this system for the time he's here, whether he does leave in the summer or he doesn't. I think he will. And maybe you will see Ralph get the best out of him, because it would be a shame to see an incredible footballer and not be able to get into this team under a proper system. So I think you're either going to see Pogba completely transform his game and have a blinder, or you're going to see him completely isolated. I think it's going to go literally one way or the other, and I'm excited to see, to be honest. But as you said, a lot of players, it's going to be so interesting. I'm really excited. Now we have something to kind of get excited for, because as Jay said, every player has a clean slate. So it's going to be so exciting to see who can make the cut and who can't. But
that's it.
One player I'm excited for as well is Rashford, to be fair. I think with the way kind of he's going to play with that high press, Rashford on the counter attack could be lethal in that sense.
Hopefully open up the window for me against Ricky in a separate little show about someone actually coaching these players and finally putting this debate to bed.
Ricky's going to realise they're not all crap after all.
Yes. I can't wait to speak to Ricky on this, actually. But Kev, mate, are we wrong to write off Pogba already in this? Like Levin said there, a lot of players are going to come in. You know what? They may listen and may go, maybe I should work this way. Maybe we can change Pogba. I mean, we know, the guy's fit as a fiddle, mate. We know we can do it. It's just his attitude to doing the extra work and what he thinks. He's not going to be able to languish on the ball and take one or too many touches. He's going to be forced to play a system. Can he do it, mate, for you?
I think the main thing that Rangnick, if he comes in and he is as disciplined as he is, I think the first question probably would be to Paul Pogba. What's the crack with your situation? Are you leaving in the summer? Are you staying? Can I count on you? You know, are you going to commit to Manchester United, or is that you gone in the summer? And if the answer's, oh, I'm not sure yet, I'm going to see how it goes, I think that's good enough for me to a clear indication that Paul Pogba is leaving Manchester United, which I've said since kind of last year. And if that's the case, do you really want to be throwing somebody like that into your team that you can count on, somebody to go into the trenches with and all that? Will he have you back? No, I that's why I didn't include him in my team. I would have if he was totally committed to Manchester United, but I think there's going to be a bit of a culture shock, and certain players, it's that it's a bit like the headmaster's arrived, isn't it? And all the naughty school kids now are going to be looking around and thinking, God, here we go now. But yeah, it all starts. But from the Pogba situation, listen, I know I'll probably take a lot of crap for saying that, and people, Pogba FC or whatever that is. I want players that are committed to Manchester United, and I'm sure the new manager coming in will as well. And that's where you have to look at certain players and say, are you committed? Can I count on you? And to me, Paul Pogba's head's elsewhere. He's obviously looking at engineering a move away from Manchester United. And do we need that? We've had it over the years, and I don't think it sits well with the rest of the squad. You need everybody to be on board with it.
Someone said a great comment there. Summer camp is over. That's perfect. But going back to Jay's O and A level sort of thing there, I bring it up. It's a perfect example. I remember English. I think it was on about an E GCSE. That's where I was at. New English teacher came in for the last, I would say, my last year. I went up to B simply because this teacher came in.
Well done, Adam.
Let's celebrate. And I'm not going to mention anything else about any of the other grades. But you know what? This teacher came in and changed me around completely. Just goes to show a little bit of a different avenue, different angle can make a massive difference. And I've seen that firsthand, a totally different area, obviously. But I know I was going one direction and it completely changed with one other person coming in. And that's exactly what can happen with us. But Levin, mate, one thing that Jay and Bev picked up on there, and it opens up a whole world of intrigue into what Rangnick can do in this role afterwards. With this 6 month in now and knowing where the players in this squad are currently at, he's got that perfect insight straight into the future for the next manager, which is why it's so good that he can get in and amongst it, in that sort of director's role. He knows what these players are thinking. He knows what's going on, and he's perfect for the next person to come in to deal with that sort of thing, mate.
Yeah, I'd love it because he's going to be able to sort of set those seeds early. You look at some of his managerial appointments. You look at some of the managers. Of course, we know the managers who he's influenced in terms of, the likes of Tuchel, Nagelsmann, Klopp, whatever. But some of the managers also have come under him through like the RB system. Very, very well-respected managers. You look at Marco Rosa, you look at Ralph Hasenhüttl. I can't say that name, I always get it wrong. But the Southampton manager, Hasenhüttl. His managerial selections are great. Somebody made a super chat with some of his actual, transfers and that sort of record. His talent ID is excellent. And I really do hope that he has a big influence in that sort of managerial appointment process in summer, because I think he'd, sort of make a great job of it. Linking that all back even to what he has to do now in terms of that transition. Look, I think it's very easy to figure out how he wants to play football, right? There's plenty of resources, and especially now, there's more and more resources coming out about understanding how he wants to play. The truth is, if you were to try and field a team that is like perfect for Ralph Rangnick, with our players, you wouldn't be able to field a perfect team, right? Like you wouldn't, you'd be missing in a couple positions. So ultimately, where he doesn't have a window, he's going to have to make do with certain people and try and make the best out of certain people. And I think he'll be great at doing that. And I think there's a lot of people that are sort of going, I don't know if that will work. I don't know what it is he will do specifically in terms of like a shape or anything, because a lot of people are sort of going, he used 4-2-2 at Leipzig, but he also used 3 at the back, but he used 4-3-3 at Hoffenheim. I don't think that's too important, because if you look at all those teams, the principles of those teams are still the same. They still, those things don't change in terms of being a high pressive team, aggressive, a lot of verticality. Like we all know, he doesn't like sideways or backwards passes. Those things remain the same. The shape isn't important. I wouldn't be surprised if he stuck with the 4-2-3-1, simply because, one, it's a framework that the players are already sort of used to. You have to remember, a lot of our players are now going to be learning a lot, right? Like there's a lot of information and new information that they're going to have to take in and adopt. And then also now having to adjust to maybe different positioning on the pitch in terms of formation and stuff. He might look at it and go, look, I'm better off not stressing myself about that now. Stick to the 4-2-3-1 that you're used to, and then we work in these principles. There's still benefits in terms of, that shape when it comes to how he wants to play. The 4-2-3-1, it's very easy to see like the triangles on the pitch, right, in terms of a 4-2-3-1. So that would, again, help in terms of players understanding and buying into what he's trying to do a lot more. And that's why I keep telling people, I don't think you should look too specifically. Even if you look at the coach's voice thing that he did was really good. He talked about it, how whether it's the Guardiola style or the Jurgen Klopp style or the Nagelsmann style or the Tuchel style, those are all just variations. That's not the important bit. The important bit is that the players get it and they buy into it and they adopt it and they know what it is exactly that their manager wants you to do. So what specifically he does, that's not the important bit. It's about sticking to his principles and buying into that system. So
exactly that. Guys, quickly, almost an hour into the show. It is an extended one tonight as well, so do stay with us. Just give the video a like. We're in record views for the Thursday night show. It's going from strength to strength. You're loving it, people. Do give the video a like while you're watching as well. Jay's leaving us on an hour, so I'm going to do this one with Jay. Right, Jay, this is it now. This is where it gets serious, mate. Say, Ralph. Oh, actually, no. First of all, mate, expectation levels for you now, mate, all of a sudden. What can you see happening with the rest of this season, mate? And what are your hopes with Rangnick? We've just talked him up, no ends. We've seen the positives that he's going to bring and what he's going to change. What are your expectations now for United? Can we go that extra yard, or is it a case of just let's secure top 4, get Champions League football for the next manager?
I think top 4 would be the bare minimum. That would be the minimum that we would expect. The new manager coming in is playing Champions League football next September. So that's the minimum. I think I'm not going to say it's a given because nothing is given in life until it actually happens. But after Arsenal, then there's young boys, and over the Christmas period, there is now, to even use the phrase, an easy run of games, because over the last year, when we've had easy run of games, we've dropped points. So I think that run of games over Christmas, they come thick and fast. And that is Rangnick's opportunity to really see what his squad is made of. Lev made a very good point there that he might go into the Arsenal game with the 4-2-3-1 for simply because that's the system, excuse me, right now the players are used to. But likelihood is you're going to see a Donny beside a Fred and not a Pogba. You probably see a Telles possibly in instead of Luke Shaw because he offers a better threat going forward. And then you might see a Cavani on the left interchanging with Ronaldo up top. You might see that. You'll definitely see Jadon Sancho. So I think initially he will stay with the same system. But as time goes on, I think you will see tweaks. And then you'll see then by the time he plays his first Champions League game next February, I think by then you will see a clear distinction of his system, be it the 4-2-2 or to transition to a 4-4-2, whatever it is. It's not going to happen overnight because I said at the start of the show, it's not a panacea. Top 4 is the minimum that I expect. I'm not going to sit here now and say, well, Rangnick is going to do a Tuchel and win the Champions League because they will be lofty expectations. We have to give this man, as I said at the start of the show, finally a manager that's going to come in and divide the fan base. I rejoiced when Josie was signed because I've always loved Jose, but Jose split the fan base because it's Jose ball, we don't want him. But I haven't seen any fans on social media that don't want Rangnick. That's a major positive. But it's up now to every single fan. If you don't see the football that you expect from Rangnick, given his reputation, in the first 2 or 3 games, well, relax, because it will happen. It just might take a little bit longer than what you expected. So, top 4 and an extended run of Champions League. And I would deem that a success for me.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that, Jay. Just let us know when you're shooting off, mate, as well, pal. We will miss you for the last half hour of the show. Kev, are we setting the bar too low here? We just talked about Rangnick. We've seen what Tuchel did with Chelsea, and I thought they were a worse team, in my opinion. Could anything happen this season, mate, under Rangnick? I mean, he has worked and taught the best. The best have come and done it. Can Rangnick come and do it at United, or we just got to say, look, we're a bit too messed up? Is there any opportunity here, Kev? I know you're getting excited. I can see you fidgeting, mate. I know you don't want to say too much, mate, but where is your bar at, mate? What are you looking at right now?
I would say probably agree with Jay that a top 4 finish would be the minimum requirement. I'm certainly not getting giddy. Listen, we've had 3 years of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If anything resonates from what Jay just said then, actually, and Jay reckons by February, we might see, or we'll see the pattern of play and the football that this manager wants to play, and have patience. Well, from a personal perspective, I'm patient. I've just given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 3 years of my life of being patient and longing to see some kind of development style of football, which sadly never really come. You know, we just sort of went game by game. We go again and all this crap. So that excites me. The fact that somebody like Jay would say that maybe by February, you are going to see that kind of football. I think from a United perspective, top 4, and I think everybody always throws it in then, don't they? And if you're being realistic, I know what Tuchel did last season, but that was quite rare what he did, and very, very impressive with a short space of time winning the Champions League. I wouldn't expect Manchester United to, and I will put it down to the fact that the centre of the park, Tuchel inherited a very good squad. We've got a good squad, but Tuchel's midfield, Chelsea's midfield, in comparison to Manchester United's, is on another level altogether. And for that reason, Manchester United, I don't believe, will win the Champions League, but we've still got the FA Cup, haven't we? And to finish top 4 in FA Cup, I know a lot of people will be like, Kev, you know, standards and all that, but we need to look at where we're at now. We haven't even got, this manager hasn't even been appointed yet. We've got an interim manager in Michael Carrick, hopefully not for too long, but until we get the new manager in, like Jay says, everybody's touched on it. It's going to take time. Don't expect it to happen overnight. Don't be tweeting after one game, you know, if we get beat, Rangnick out and all this. You know, the reset button's been hit. Everyone's got a clean slate, and we go and we see where the journey takes us. But again, it's going to be interesting, very, very interesting, because there's a lot of Manchester United players are going to have the nose put out of joint here, big time. It's going to be a culture shock more than anything. They've had it far too easy, and now it begins.
Is that the main point out of all this? Patience, Beth, with Rangnick coming in now, like Kev says there, is it going to be a case of just weaning out the ones that aren't going to work for the future, and the next manager, like we just touched on, like his role and his role after could be implemented right now while he's actually managing these players as well?
100%. I definitely think it gives him a head start, because he's obviously going to be working with these players day in, day out, and that he's going to get to know these players a lot, which is obviously going to give him a lot of information when he kind of steps into that role after the new manager comes in. I think he's going to help appoint a new manager a lot, because he knows what he's talking about in football. I mean, you've seen that interview. I think it got sent to our group chat, the interview of him speaking about different managers and the different styles of football. So he can understand the manager and what style of football they're going to implement. He can understand the players that we've got. And I genuinely think this is such a good appointment. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I do think, like you said, it's going to be either make or break for a lot of these players. And they've had an easy ride for a long time. I think under Mourinho, he ended up getting pushed out because I don't think any people liked the harsh treatment in a way. And I think under Rangnick, there's going to be no excuses. He's very, very established, and the treatment is going to be harsh, but that's what it's got to be in football. And if you can't take it, then you're going to see players kind of drift away. And if you can't take it, then you're not a Manchester United player. You've not got the mindset. So you're going to see who kind of can make it in and has a Manchester United mindset and can be part of a team that actually wants to go and win things, and who, unfortunately, they just can't do it. They can't take that pressure. They can't take that responsibility, and they can't put in the work. So we're going to see a lot of things. And I do think he will cotton on quite quickly who is going to be part of the project and who isn't. And I think obviously that's going to help when it comes to the end of his interim role, or even during the interim role. He's kind of going to be able to say who he thinks he's going to carry on with the club and who's going to have to leave. And I think that's a massively important thing, because obviously we know how big our squad is. It's massive, and it is stopping youth from coming through. And I think that'll be a thing that might start to change now. I think some of the dead wood will kind of slowly get eased out, especially with his role carrying on afterwards.
That's why.
Yeah, I mean, go on, Kev.
Sorry, Adam. I was just going to say, that's why before I mentioned Luke Shaw, I had seen the interview where he made comments about Luke Shaw. But you look at the way that Jose Mourinho handled Luke Shaw, for instance, which some people would say was something short of bullying in a way, which I didn't totally agree with. But there are certain players that do not respond to criticism on that kind of level. And I would probably put Luke Shaw and Martial in that category, where I'd think, well, this could get interesting, because if they're not ready to fight for the shirt, I mean, a year ago, after scoring that goal at the Euros, you wouldn't look at Luke Shaw and go, he's going to be under threat come November into the season. But now with the change of manager and stuff, he'll have his own ideas. He could be under threat. He might look at a player like Luke Shaw and think, don't fancy him. And it will come down to the manager. Again, Martial, if you're not up for the fight, see you later, mate. You can go in January. I think he will be quite ruthless. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm just saying, players like Luke Shaw, he could be under threat.
I do think you always see players, though, when a new manager comes in, they start off well and they start off with the right attitude. And then with some players, it fades away. And then with some players, it sticks. And over time, you'll get to see who that happens to. Because Martial, every time a new manager's come in, he seemed to do quite well straight away.
You get the new manager bounce, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
It just depends how long it lasts for, doesn't it? And then we'll go from there.
Well, this is it. His prime example of that was I heard Reguilon's interview the other day, and he was asked about his first week of training with Conte, and he just said, hell. Hell. There you go. That tells you what's coming. And if it's not been going right one way, then they're soon going to find out exactly how the right way is and what it takes to actually, because these are what the Pep's players are doing. These are what Klopp's players are doing. These are now what Tuchel's players are doing. Funnily enough, they're the top 3 in our league. So, yeah, and we finished above 2 of them last season. So, tells you everything you want to know. But, Levin, what happens, mate, if it does go well? What happens? And I know everyone's like, we don't want to fall down the interim managerial appointment trick again, but this is an interim with a difference, mate. This is a pedigree manager. He's already committed to another 2 years in another role. If it all goes well, dare I say it, Levin, have we got another tough decision to actually make regarding this? Or is it a case of, no, we have to be strict, 6 months, job done, thank you, upstairs you go and get on the cushion seat with Fergie?
I don't think that's a conversation to entertain, just because I don't think that's his ambition, based off of what we've seen him say. You look, the reason why
would he be tempted though to the project, mate? You reckon?
Well, I think it's clear based off of the role he's been given in terms of the 2-year consultancy that clearly there was an emphasis on his behalf that he wants to have a higher, sort of impact on the club beyond just a managerial level. Look, I get if things work, then of course we're going to be tempted, right? Because let's say the new manager that he helps appoint just isn't as good as him. People always look back and go, oh, but them 6 months, right, with him, right? It was them 6 months with Ralph. It was so good. It's not like that no more. I'm sure we'll get that, but based off of everything that we know about him and the way he's taken his career, because he was a manager for a while, and I think a lot of people go, I think the past 10 seasons there have been in football, he's managed in 2 of them, right? So it's not like, and it's not like he's a bad coach, right? I think a lot of people who maybe don't know a lot about him go, is this guy even a good coach? Like, I don't get why people are so excited about this guy. You can see what some of his peers, well, not his peers, some of his sons, right? Klopp, Tuchel, you can see what they have to say about him when it comes to his coaching ability. So, this is someone that very much could have been in a position to. Chelsea literally offered him the interim job, right? Like before they offered it to Tuchel. So this is somebody who, if he wanted to be coaching, he would have been doing that. And I don't think that's what he wants to do. I think in this case, he's doing it because he understands it's an emergency, right? And he's also being promised a higher role at the club. I did want to say, Adam, right? A lot of people are focusing a lot on, the attacking side of the game. And I think that's obviously the exciting bit, because under Oli, the attacking side has been a bit dull. I actually think the most important thing when it comes to Rangnick coming in is defensively, right? You look at our expected goals in the Premier League this season, it's still up there with some of the better teams, right? I think we're around 5th. You look at expected goals against, we're way down there. And that's where we've just received so many goals. And finally having a manager that allows us to control games out of possession. Oh my God. Like, that's what all the other top teams that we're competing with do. We failed to be able to do that for a while now under Oli. You look at Man City versus PSG. Even when they didn't have the ball, they had control of that game, right? They were forcing PSG to different areas of the map of the pitch. But yeah, I'm in a different mindset here. And Rangnick
back on the old levels again.
Back on the old levels. I am in Fortnite mode right now. I got an event this weekend. Look, having Rangnick come in, right? He's gonna be able to do that with us, where we will be able to control games out of possession because he will implement that press. And we've not had that. And that's where really, you know, in terms of expectations, I'm not setting anything too high, but that's where really you could see us actually rocket as a team. Because once we start improving defensively, we have the ability to score goals. It's not been great on the Oli, but even on the Oli, we've still had the ability to score goals in certain games. When we can be good defensively, that's where we become really scary. So,
okay, Jay, Levin's
yes,
just absolutely
Adam,
shut down the perfect. Right, have you got a goal, mate? By the way,
I gotta get off. But what I would be most interested in, I know that I would never have access to this exact data, but Rangnick will probably come in week 1. He'll go through all the players' files, get their current fitness matrices, and he'll have it all in a lovely spreadsheet. He'll test them. 6 weeks later, he'll test them again. Because right now, that team, to a man, is not fit enough to employ a press as a team. They don't look fit to me. None of them do. Ronaldo withstanding. So I think fitness is a massive issue, I think, in that team. I've harped on about Maguire lacking physicality, Fred lacking physicality, Lindelof. There's an issue in that club with strength conditioning. Now, that's my background, so that's something that I'd love to go in there for a month and see what the hell they're doing, because that is lacking. But Rangnick's going to come in, and he's probably over fullness of time going to bring his own strength coach, his own fitness coach, and that is where you will see the difference. That is when you see us playing a high line and playing a high press and doing it for an actual 90 minutes. That, as you pointed out, lads and lady, I'm not forgetting you, Beth, that is what that his sons, his Nagelsmann, his Klopp, that's what they've done to all their teams. They're following his model. So right now, I don't think our players are actually even fit enough. They take technical ability out for a second, okay? I don't think right now, to a man, they're fit enough to employ his tactics. I'm just going to finish on that.
That is it. Jay, cheers for coming on, mate. Absolutely brilliant input.
Good night, mate.
Good night.
Yeah.
As Jay leaves the building, Kev, I mean, Levin pretty much shot down the perfect interim manager there in what Rangnick is. He's made for it. It's exactly what we need right now. What that does do is open up the summer to a world of different options. We've spoke about them before, but right now that brings to the table everyone we did speak about. The Ten Hags, the Rodgers, the Pochettinos. It's rumoured that they're still after Pochettino, but with Rangnick in charge and then having the role afterwards, you can't help but feel like Ten Hag is on the table right now, can you?
Christmas is coming early. Well, it's not, because we'll have to wait, won't we? But that would be that's my first choice anyway. And in a way, I'm like I say, getting Rangnick in now, it suggests to me that I don't think United will now go for Pochettino. I think Pochettino is attainable now. So for some reason, Manchester United, whether it was pure speculation, but there is no smoke without fire. The thing is, it's 10 million compensation to get Pochettino out, or 10 million euro. You will, whether you pay it now to get him out, and apparently he's unsettled. I said, his wife and children still live in England. So a big part of coming back to the Premier League is for family reasons, as well as his dream job is Manchester United. If he sticks around until the summer, Manchester United will still have to pay that same compensation if they want to get him out of PSG. So in financial terms, it doesn't really make any difference whether you go and get him now, Zidane goes in at PSG, and, Pochettino's at United, everyone's happy. I think this is sort of swung it in a way that I do believe that they are looking at somebody else. Now, fingers crossed for me, it would be Ten Hag looking forward. And it is funny on Twitter because you get certain people going on now. Apparently, it's just the cool thing to say, to say Ten Hag. But that's who I want. I think we've come a long way since Monday. This is what I will say. I had a long drive on Monday. Where did I go? Oxford. And I'm driving along. And it was only a few weeks ago on this show, I joked. And I remember everyone in the comment section, I said, give it Steve Bruce till the end of the season. And I said, Mark Hughes. They've got the United DNA in him. That same day, a story actually broke that Steve Bruce was interested. And then I heard Mark Hughes on TalkSport saying, I'm available if they want to ring me. I nearly crashed. I'm like, what is going on, man? I was like, does Ed Woodward watch the United stand? Does he think this is what fans actually want? I'm like, I was being facetious, man. It was a joke. But it's just great to get from that point of, you know, the Darren Fletchers, the Steve Bruce, the Mark Hughes to this point now. So, yes, very happy anyway.
Kev, I don't want to burst a bubble, yeah, but I did a show today, right, in the morning about Poch, because it looked like it was going to be Poch before we got the great news today. Based off of the reports, it didn't seem, at least the latest reports we had, it didn't seem like it was a matter of us not wanting to get it done or him not wanting to get it done. It seemed to be a matter of PSG, because there isn't the certainty right now of being able to get Zidane if Poch was to go, them not wanting to let, you know, their manager go, right? And we know with PSG, if they don't want to let someone go, they ain't letting that person go, right? So I think that's where it was. And so even though I would much rather prefer Ten Hag again, you get the people that will saw me like, oh, what, you want Poch? I think there's still a chance that if the club want Poch in summer, they will go for Poch, because then at least it's more likely that PSG would be willing to let him go because the season's ended. It says.
I still think if they'd have gone for him, and I mean big time all in, and this is where, if you say to Pochettino, you're going to have to turn around to Paris Saint-Germain and say that you want to leave. I don't see what PSG can do. It's a bit different with a footballer with contracts and stuff. And I know he has got a contract to 2023, but I really do think that if he turns around and says, I'm gone, a manager's quite a big thing, isn't it? And he's going through a bit of a tough period. There's all this talk in the press that he can't manage the egos of Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar, and even some people have thrown up that he might have had the same problem at Old Trafford with certain individuals. You know, there was no guarantee that he could manage them.
I mean, that's it. I mean, Beth, it's like a game of chess, isn't it? He's coming in, Rangnick. He's the bishops, he's the rooks. He's coming in, he's cleared the path. He's cleared all the dead wood. He's done everything. And he's laid the carpet there for the Queen to just go whoosh, straight down the middle of the board and take over. Is that Ten Hag for you? Is that the perfect combination right now?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it many times. Me and Kev have been kind of on the same wavelength. I think a lot of us are. Ten Hag is my first choice, and like Kev said, a lot of people think, oh, you know, nothing. It's just kind of trendy to say that. It's not that. It's not that at all. I know Pochettino's style of football. I've obviously seen him in the Premier League, seen what he's doing at PSG. I know Rodgers' style of football, and I've been watching Ajax actually quite a lot recently, and been looking at Ten Hag. And for me personally, I just think he is the right fit for us. I think it's something different. I think you've seen Poch in the Premier League. I think you've seen Brendan Rodgers in the Premier League. Both of them haven't been elite. Like, and that might be a bit harsh to say, but they've not. I mean, they're great managers, but they've not been elite for me. I think what Poch isn't pulling up trees at PSG, and I do think what Ten Hag is doing with the Ajax team, really implementing a seriously good system and kind of making very, no offense to them, a lot of average players look very, very good in the Champions League as well. So for me, he would be the perfect replacement. And I know at the moment, Poch is still the number one kind of candidate. And obviously, if he came to the club, I'd still support it and I'd still go with it. And I think he is a good manager. But a lot can happen till summer. Rangnick can have a big say on what happens. I mean, Poch might decide he wants to stay at PSG. You never know what's going to happen. And I do think Ten Hag looks interested in this Manchester United job. He obviously has to see it out with Ajax till the end of the season. But I think if Manchester United want to kind of change things and really want to make a statement, Ten Hag would be a great appointment in the summer. And I think it would really kind of start off a new era. And I think he would complement the kind of football that Rangnick's going to bring into the football club. And like you said,
carry on, yeah.
Like you said, he's going to kind of carry that on, and that's all we want, really. And I think Rangnick's kind of going to do the dirty work and obviously kind of have a really hard time kind of getting these players up to scratch. And then Ten Hag can come in and really kind of just finesse his system onto this team, and we can be really ready then for the new season ahead, which is obviously going to be I'm not writing off this season, but that's going to be kind of a fresher start when you've got this new permanent manager in. So yeah, for me, Ten Hag is 100% number one. But obviously, we'll just have to see what happens. As I said, a lot can happen from now until summer.
Yeah. I mean, we're all saying 11 nets. We know he is going to make it easier for the next manager coming in. But right now, the manager that is in, the intern of the intern manager in Michael Carrick, the players are knowing what's going on right now. May we see an early reaction against Chelsea this weekend, mate, because this reverberates right through this playing staff, and all of a sudden, ears are pricked up, and players start to obviously go, oh, hang on a minute. This is the perfect opportunity here against the European champions to actually go out there and actually show that I have got something else. We could get an early manager bounce earlier than the guys actually coming in to take charge, Levin here, mate.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't know, I find it funny. Look, it'll be a great opportunity for certain players to impress, right? You know, you're going to have to do a lot to impress them. And I think if you look at the way we were in that Villarreal game, it's interesting because I think we will probably go and look to be look to try and stop them from winning the game rather than us going out trying to win the game. And we'll see. I guess we'll see. I'm not now focused on what Carrick does because I honestly it doesn't matter, right? Because we know Rangnick is coming in, but it was interesting in that Villarreal game to see sort of what Carrick had to change in his small opportunity, right? It's not like he was sitting there like auditioning for the managerial job, but it was definitely like, oh, okay, so this is what Carrick would have done differently in terms of Oli. And again, this weekend will be a cool chance to see that. Because obviously, Ralph isn't going to be ready for that game, work permit stuff. Technically, the deal's actually not even confirmed yet, technically, but all the reports have said that it should be done. So, yeah, it'll be a good chance for people to impress. But again, how we do it, like I said with the Villarreal game, how isn't important. If Carrick can steal a point or get 3 points, that's really good. From Carrick, like pat on the back to Carrick, innit? Like, if we don't play tiki-taka beautiful football.
Not gonna lie.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if we were to go out in that Chelsea game and maybe be a bit more defensive, people would go, but it's like, that's not really Carrick's job, innit? Like, he's not going to be the manager moving forward. His job is just to try and get a result, so I wouldn't look too much into it.
I mean, what are you expecting that weekend, Beth? Are you expecting players to go out there knowing that there's a new man coming in and putting in a little bit more, or we're expecting more of the same? It's a tough one to go. It's a weird situation for the players, really, isn't it? If, like, under one manager, knowing that he's not going to be carrying on where they're at, but ultimately a bit of self-pride, we would hope, kicked in this weekend and actually put themselves out there and go, look, this is me, this is what I'm made of, and hopefully when Rangnick comes in, they can hit the ground running.
Yeah, well, they've come off the back of a good result, which is always good for kind of positivity and mindset and stuff like that. But again, the players will know it's Chelsea. Carrick knows it's Chelsea. And like Levin said, his job is to try and get a result from that. And yeah, it's not going to be great to see us completely sit back and not play the most attractive football. But I do think that is what you're going to see. I think with the lack of coaching these players have had, you can't implement something overnight. You can't implement a massively attacking system overnight. That's going to go and kind of go pillar to pillar with Chelsea. So I think a defensive outlook on this game is possibly one of the only ways we could end up actually getting something from this game. I think you'll see a very similar situation to Villarreal. I think it's going to depend a lot on if Chelsea kind of do score in the first half, which is likely, but hopefully not. And I think in the second half, I think Carrick's thought process will be getting to the first half at 0-0, second half, possibly go and try and knit that goal. I think it's going to be a very tight game. And I do think I don't think Chelsea are going to batter us like a lot of people expect. I think these players have got self-pride now. And I think they are going to be looking, obviously, they know that this manager is going to be watching. So I do expect some players to kind of step it up a notch and really do try and impress. But at the same time, it's absolutely vital, especially with a new manager coming in now and you've got a chance to kind of salvage the season. You want to at least get a result here. So I do think you're going to kind of see that edgy game. And in the second half, I think that's where it'll probably kind of heat up a little bit.
I mean, Kev, I expect a similar sort of lineup to the Villarreal one, sort of stay in the game till half time, like we said, and then bring on the more, well, I wouldn't say flair players, but the more direct players.
Mm-hmm. I would have thought so. It's a bit like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I mean, this is a different game altogether, Chelsea. I think tactically, I mean, you're coming up against the European champions, a manager who knows what he's doing, and that's it is disrespect to Michael Carrick actually, because he's interim manager. He's a coach at Manchester United that I firmly believe shouldn't really even still be there, part of the setup, and yet he's still there. You'll have players now that, yes, know that the new manager is going to be watching, will try to impress. And from my point of view, I sort of look at it and I think, if I'm being brutally honest, you shower at shithouses. You know, against Watford, first half, absolutely nothing. But yet what? You can get up for Villarreal when Ollie's gone. Carrick comes out after the game. You know, that one's for you, Ollie. Doesn't sit right with me, that. And again, don't get me wrong, I'd be absolutely delighted if we beat Chelsea or even got a point off them on Sunday. But part of me would think you did have it inside you. You're professional footballers. And I've said it, Adam, you're the same. Travel everywhere, man. I said, if you can't even get up and do it for yourself, at least do it for the fans. The ones that travel all over the country, the ones that were in, you know, Villarreal, went to the Villarreal game, travel all around the country watching and have to be subjected to, you know, just absolute horseshit performances like that where you get nothing back. All you want to see is your team, you know, give it a go. And all you as football fans will know you can take getting beat as long as you've give it a go. But recently,
do we think he's going to play back five?
You might try and match their back five. Like we've seen teams do that before. I think you look at how Chelsea attack, very much they hold the width really well, especially you look at the form of Reece James off the right, you know, just holding out wide is a massive threat. You know, unfortunately Chilwell's been injured, and so Alonso will come in, and I know some Chelsea fans always get worried about him, but they attack really wide. Carrick might go, look, let's try and match them in terms of their width and play a back five. Either way, there's not much I think he can do to make it less likely that we get beaten, because this Chelsea side is in really good form. I know a lot of people going, oh, Juventus just bad. Okay, but Chelsea were just really good as well. Like, don't get that. But yeah, so look, all I ask is that they try, like Kev said, innit? Just try, go out there and work hard, try your best.
That's it.
We'll get
I sound like Ollie now.
Yeah.
So ahead of us.
It's not fair to bring up all the teams and predicted teams we all went with, but you can check them out on the United Stand Twitter feeds, and I think they're on Instagram as well, guys, from all of us and what we decided to go with. So do check out the United Stand socials for all of our picks in terms of team lineups. I mean, guys, at the end of the day, we are going to be going into this game against Chelsea this weekend with a completely different look on it. I mean, Kev, you said you had a long drive to Watford the other day. Man, my drive back from Watford was ridiculously long, mate. It was dark. It was horrible. It was just the pits. But we are going to be going into this weekend with a whole new outlook on United's future right now. And surely that is probably the biggest positive we can take from what happened last weekend moving forward. We have moved quickly. We've got it sorted within the week. The Champions League qualification is done and dusted. Our Thursday night show is safe. So really, that's the biggest news of the week, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It's all about.
Yeah.
I say that, though. I say that. Yeah, the Thursday night show is safe. What happens next?
Thursday
Amazon
night
come
football.
into town, and we've got Arsenal at home in the league at 8:15. I mean, seriously. Come on.
No, it's the
What's that to do with it, exactly?
Oh, God, Amazon, I tell you, they've got that,
Is
they've
that
got
what
that
it is?
Christmas group of games, haven't they, that they had last year.
To
And
be
it's
fair, I
all
quite
weird
like
times.
it. I quite like
Why?
it. I quite like seeing having them games on Amazon, because you get to watch more football. Because when all the 3 o'clock kickoffs are on Sky, you don't get to see everything, do you?
Yeah, but Beth, that means we're there later at Old Trafford on Thursday now.
I know,
We're
but
not
I
all
think
as
we're
young
going
as
to
you
win, so I'm
anymore.
excited now.
Yeah, that'll be his
Guys.
first game in charge. So
Against Arsenal as well. It's going to be, it's going to be a good
we
game.
don't.
That
We
is gonna
haven't
be-
beat Arsenal.
That
We
is going to
struggled
be a
against Arsenal the past couple of years.
big atmosphere. That Levin's right. We've got a shocking record recently against Arsenal.
Yeah,
So that
but
needs to
we've
be
also
put
got
right.
New manager bounce, which can do
Yep.
a lot. We've seen in the past.
Well, we're hoping, and it would be nice to do it against Arsenal as well. It would be very nice to do it against them. Guys, I will be back tomorrow with the presser for Michael Carrick. I'm like the Randy Orton of the United Stands. I'm the legend killer. Every time I do a presser, it's the last one for that manager. I did Ollie's. I'm doing Carrick's. And if you want a manager out, just put me on the presser video on United Stand. It's as simple
So no
as
more
that,
presses
guys.
after this then. No more presses after this.
Basically,
I am
basically.
RKOing your ass out of here. I'm telling you, we're done. But guys, There's everyone in the super chats and the chats all night. Like I said, well over, I think we get around about 17,000 in the show watching at one point there today. Absolutely brilliant. Everyone's excited moving forward. Levin, cheers for coming on, mate. You've had a long day. You've had a lot of news to deal with. Rest time, mate, for you.
Yep. Appreciate everyone for all the love and support, and looking forward to what should be less depressing Manchester United football matches. So
that's
happy.
it, mate.
Happy
Yes. Plan. I think we're all looking forward to the post-match interviews, Kev, as well, mate, aren't we? But a bit of football talk. Cheers for coming on, Kev, as always, mate. How was the red wine tonight? Enjoy that?
It's going down all right, mate. All right. I am. I'll be back on Sunday. I think I'm hosting at the Fan Forum, and
yes,
as you can imagine, recently, what have I had to endure? Leicester, Liverpool, Man City, and Watford. So some people think this is easy, man. You try going on a Fan Forum after them 4 results and try to take some positivity and try and make people smile. It's not happening.
I will be listening in on my way home from Stamford Bridge.
Good man.
Beth, cheers for coming on as always. Everyone's happy tonight. Looking forward to the weekend and what is coming over the next few weeks. But as always, cheers for coming on, Beth.
Exactly. We've got a lot of positivity to look forward to, and hopefully your drive back from Stamford Bridge is a happy one. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the Fan Forum. I should be on that on Sunday, I think.
Yes. Hopefully it's a good show and we're talking positives as well. Yes, the vibe has gone good again, guys. What a difference a week makes in football, especially with Manchester United. We're actually making some seriously positive decisions from upstairs, and it's just nice to see. But moving on, guys, don't forget, give the video a like on your way out. Thanks for tuning in as always. Subscribe to the United Stand, and you will see all of us over the weekend. I'll be back tomorrow, like the guy said then. We're all back over the weekend. Do tune in as always. Thanks for watching, everybody.